get to that at the end.
Well, thanks for staying with us. It's time now for Media Watch, which I'm joined by James Creedon. Hi, James.
Good evening.
Good evening, good morning, whatever. Now, so we're going to start off with the reaction in the British media about Britain's breakaway from the EU.
It's extraordinary. I mean, there were headlines across the British press today, but I think the most interesting one, and I'll get straight to it, is the Sarkozy snubbing Cameron around the conference table. Let's have a look at the Daily Mail here. Le snub, they call it, the moment that Sarkozy refused to shake Cameron's hand. And you can hear what they've done here. And if we can go to the moving pictures, actually, you can see what they've done is they've taken 3 screenshots, right? You see what it looks like is Cameron approaching Sarkozy, and then basically Sarkozy turning his back on him. And so essentially what happened was, if we can go to the moving pictures, you can see that that's not really the reality of things. It's very misrepresentative, really, of the reality. And so, yeah, here you can actually see what happens here. Sarkozy gives the baisement, very much like Chirac would have done, to this particular lady, then moves past Cameron, slap on the back, onto the Cypriot president, right? And there you can see it being played again. So what you can see from this is I think that the Daily Mail certainly exaggerated the sequence on the front page of their website, which was basically the most prominent feature on their website all day long. And guess what else they did, if we have a look online here? Caption competition. What words accompanied Sarkozy's now infamous snub of Cameron? Now, I think it's worth pointing out that this is
quick to become infamous.
I think it is. And, what's more, who knows what happened? Who knows, what happened overnight? Maybe they'd already shaken hands on a couple of occasions. It's taken totally out of context. But this, remember, is a paper that once pointed out that Hitler and this house in Swansea looked very similar. So I think it's perhaps not 100% reliable about these issues. And sure enough, you can see the kind of side parting, etc. Sure enough, the Daily Telegraph points out that this photo was taken just 3 minutes in advance of that infamous snub. They did shake hands at a photo shoot. So, I mean, if I salute you, if I greet you when I come into the newsroom, George, I'm not necessarily going to do it 3 minutes later. I've said hello to you. I'm not going to do it again. So
I think they actually look quite chummy with a little pat on the back from
So the
Cameron.
whole thing was completely exaggerated. That's the point.
Well, the Daily Mail is known for dramatising stories, isn't it?
It absolutely is. So I think the whole thing just got a little bit out of hand. Now, well, I tell you about another big drama today in the media. It was pointed out yesterday, but it's been gathering steam all day. Let's go back to Tuesday when Moscow there was a lot of unrest on the streets of Moscow. Now, clearly some at Fox News, let's have a look at these pictures, because some at Fox News must have thought that the images weren't quite interesting enough, right? So what they did is they took some pictures that were actually of Greek demonstrations, Greek riots, and played them as if they were happening. Do you see the Greek text there above? At the very top of the screen.
It's a bit of a giveaway there.
It's a bit of a giveaway.
In Moscow.
And they said essentially that this was happening in Moscow. Now, you could say maybe an honest mistake, but I think that's a pretty ginormous mistake to make, right? And now, John Stack, who is the vice president of news gathering at Fox News, has said he's confirmed that the error took place. Let's have a little look online. The Atlantic Wire is also, they said clearly the pictures weren't rioty enough. They wanted them to make it look rightier. And they took some screen grabs. If you have a look here, you can see actually a palm tree in the background. Now, I don't know any neighborhood of Moscow that would be likely to have palm trees, except maybe
a pretty hardy palm it would have to be.
And Pravda are pretty quick to say as well that the Americans are known for having a poor knowledge of geography, and it seems some Russians went as far as Greece to demonstrate their dissatisfaction with Putin. Now, what's interesting is I suppose tomorrow could actually see maybe 30,000 people taking to the streets of Moscow. So maybe there will be scenes that are livelier than the ones on Tuesday. But let's have a look at this to finish with, Georgia. On Radio Free Europe, top Russian health inspector says demonstrators will catch the flu, right? His name is Gennady Onyshchenko, and he's the senior health inspector, the top doctor essentially in Russia. And he said, look, people who are thinking of going out in the streets tomorrow across Russia to demonstrate, you're better off staying at home. There's a risk that you could catch the flu.
Well, that would definitely put me off if I was a little bit unsure about my
I think
elections.
spin at the Kremlin going into overdrive, if you ask me.
Well, brilliant. Thanks very much for that, James. James Keaton there with Media Watch. Well, do stay with us. Coming up after a short break, we have a full news update, including reactions from London to David Cameron's stand at the EU summit.